right, the master music formula is here. It is here to stay. It's actually been here forever, for a long time. We're just unveiling it. And today we're going to be using Freddie King's Going Down to show you how to think and how to have a perspective on how this formula works. All right, so we're going to get right down to it. Going Down is such a great song. Tons of guitar players play this on stage as a jam. You can look up, there's so many. And how do they improvise? How they all sound different? They do this. So let's get down to it. Okay, so the chord progression is really power chords, all right? It's D, and then D, C, G, F, D. That's the first part. I'm going to count everything out, but we're just going to go over everything, okay? The first part of the master music formula that you want to conquer, that holds all of the gravity, is the chord progression. We have to look at what's going on. And then after that, it goes to G, D, C, G, F, D. And I'm going to play the whole thing in a couple seconds. And then it goes to A. And it does the same riff, D, C, G, F, D. So every riff ends with that D, C, G, F, D. And one time it starts on the D, one time it starts on the G, and one time it starts on an A. And if that sounds familiar to you, good, you're doing a good job. If not, that D, G, and A is the 1, 4, and 5 of D. And so let's just take a look at that, and I'm going to count everything out. I have it on a loop. I'll put on some distortion because it sounds great with distortion. And this is what it sounds like. Okay, so it's D, 2, 3, 4, riff, back to D, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, to G, G, to the riff. A, and then that's the whole thing right there. It starts to repeat right now. Oh. Okay, so we have this 1, 4, and 5 blues/rock progression. That's what is in that bottom portion. Now, for people who don't like mathematics, there's another analogy or perspective you can have about the music, the master music formula, which is a cupcake. When you look at the master music formula, the top part is the frosting and the bottom part is the cupcake. And when you have a cupcake, you have the cake part, which holds like all of like the flavor, you know, and it's actually the cake. And that's the same thing with the chord progression. Is that's the most important piece of the puzzle right now. So let's just take a look at what's happening. We have this 1, 4, and 5 progression, definitely blues based. It has a nice up tempo. It has this cool riff in between everything, and so it's not a 12-bar blues, but it moves in a blues fashion. And so now we have this cupcake / bottom portion of the master music formula. And what does it mean? Well, okay, we have D's and C's and G's and F's. And it starts on the D, so right off the bat, it's like, okay, we're starting off the D, and we'll talk about that. And there's a 1, 4, and 5 based off of D. So D is our main goal right now. Our home is D. We have a 1, 4, and 5 in D. All right, so let's take a look at the frosting, or the numerator portion. Music equals scales and or chord tones happening over the chords. We have the chords. Okay, let's take a look. So this is a blues rock song. Anytime you think of blues/rock, the answer 8 to 9 times out of 10 is going to be the minor pentatonic. Because when the minor pentatonic sits on top of a 1, 4, and 5 blues progression, that combination gives you the sound of rocky blues. And for those who like the cupcake analogy, it's like putting vanilla frosting on a chocolate cupcake. It works, but there's a difference that kind of enhances the flavor. And so the main guess, again, we're looking to see how this formula works, right? Just to gain the perspective and how you want to look at everything from the ground up. We have the chords. We have a creeping suspicion that the minor pentatonic, the D minor pentatonic, is going to be the optimal scale because it starts on a D. All the notes are in the D minor pentatonic, and it's a rock song, a rock blues song, okay? So that minor pentatonic. So the first thing I'm going to do is test out the D minor pentatonic. We're just going to give it the music equals scales over chords. We're just going to play the D minor pentatonic. We're going to have fun for a second. We're going to check it, make sure it works. works perfectly. So now we are really building that equation here. We have the 1, 4, and 5 rock blues kind of progression on the bottom. We chose the D minor pentatonic because it's the obvious choice. And don't worry, all the future videos are going to show you how to choose your scales, how to really learn those chord tones. Again, this video is just to show you how the formula really works and how to think about it on guitar. So now we have our chord progression. We're thinking about it, right? We have our D, C, G, F, D. We have the right scale on top, and now we have music equals scales and or chord tones. So let's look at some of the chord tones that are happening here. Let's find those Ds. So that's in our root position. All right, it's always in those same positions in the 4-1 pentatonic. And so we have a D here, a D here, and a D here. Well, we also have C, Gs, and Fs. Okay, so D, C, G, F. So I can kind of play the progression. Or here. All right, let's find it up here. D, bum, 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 bum. D, C, G, F, D. All right, you want to know that now. That's important. Right, you want to take a breath and just practice that. And by the way, on Patreon, we're going to be practicing it here and practicing in different areas of the neck and really kind of like making you bond. And we're going to put the whole equation in the press and make you a great soloist over this song. All right, so, you know, D, C, G, F, D. That's that riff in the song. Or D, C, G, F, D. You just want to have that. Why? Well, let me show you. Here we go. We're going to put that riff in as the solo, scales plus and or chord tones. Let's see if we can do that. All right. So you can see we're putting it right on top of where it is. We're using the chord tones. We're enhancing that moment. Now we're going to learn more and more of our options here, and then it becomes up to you to find out, like, you know, what you want to do. Find that inner musician. Right? We're not done yet. We have the chords. The first chord of every riff is changing. We have starts on the D, and we already found our Ds. Then it goes to a G, which is the 4 in 1, 4, 5. And so you want to find your Gs and know them. Now in the minor pentatonic, right, the intervals are always the same. 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, 5, 1. So if this is a D and this is the 4, that's a G. So D, G, D, G. They're right here. You kind of want to have that perspective. We're looking right now at the scale from a bird's eye view. We're looking straight down at it, and we're saying, okay, 1, 4, and here's my 1, 4. Why is that important? Well, okay, let's introduce the 4 chord. Like when we get to the 4 chord, we're going to hit that 4 note, and then we're going to solo for a little bit, and then we're going to put that riff in. Again, we're just kind of going over options. You will be as free as a bird. Let's see what it sounds like. Here's the 1. Riff. Solo. G or 4. Riff. All right, you can see everything's bonding, everything's sounding perfect because we have this equation or cupcake set up, and everything is perfect. Right? We have our chords and our chord progression. We looked at it, and now we're looking at how do we put our scale and our chord tones on top. We also have a 5. It goes to the A. The last one starts on the A, so let's find those 5s. 1, 4, 5, or 1, 4, 5. So here are our 5s, and when we get to an A, we want to hit that note to start off right away. Not like right now. We'll loosen everything up as we get along with this video. But let's now play a solo where we are using the D minor pentatonic. We're hitting the 1s and the 1s, the 4s and the 4s, and the 5s and the 5s. We're soloing for a little bit, and then we're playing that riff up in the pentatonic, so that everything here should be like, this is crystal clear cut, like crystal clear cut music. 100%. We're doing the right thing for the right moment right now. We haven't gotten yet to the human element portion of it, where we either enjoy the cupcake or we bring out our rhythm, our dynamics and everything. We're just like putting it together so that the structure is sound. So hopefully it makes sense. I'm going to do everything we talked about so far. Let's see what it sounds like. I'm going to try and say it as I do it, but it's going to be hard. Here we go. On the 1. Play, riff. Sorry. Told you it'd be hard. Solo. 4, sol, riff. Solo. 5. So you can see here, we are in the soloing position. Does it sound like an amazing solo so far? Well, it sounds like I don't know, like a perfect dry run of a solo. You know, it's like, okay, we have all the ingredients. Now we're gonna talk. That's everything up on that top portion on that numerator. It's the scales and or the chord tones. We looked at all the chord tones we possibly need at each moment. We're paying attention to the chords on the bottom, and we're saying, okay, not only do we know the chords, we know where they are, and we found all the appropriate chord tones in our scale to help celebrate those moments when they change to it. Okay, and we're still just in the D minor pentatonic. Now we're going to start to move over to that that psi symbol, which is the human element. Okay, so a couple things here. We have the first thing I'll discuss, and this is what you get when you listen to other people perform or when you have like an inkling of what to do. Bending in the blues or in rock is quintessential. All right, so the first human element I'm going to introduce here is I'm going to take those notes that I hit, like the D on the D. Instead of hitting a D or a D, one thing I love to do is take that flat 7, which is the C right here, and bend it up to the D. Because that to me is bluesy. There's a tension there, but also a resolve. So when the song starts, you know, I like to bend into that. Now, the 4 chord, which is the G, you have a 1, a 4 here, okay, you can come in there, or a 1 and a 4 here. Now, a great trick to do is to, there's a 4, go to the minor third, 2 frets back, it's in the scale, that's the C. Same thing, and bend it up. Now, it takes you out of position, but you can slide into it. You know, ooh, messed up there. And it gives a good sound. And for the 5 chord, I love to take the 4 and bend it up 2 frets of the 5. And so here's the first thing we're going to do. The first humanization is we're going to bend those notes instead of hitting them. So let's see what it sounds like. There's our first humanization. First thing, bending. All right. Now, let's talk about another human element we need to put in here, which is where do you want to solo? I've listened to plenty of people jam on this, and each one has their own pocket. Some people don't solo over that riff. They just kind of like let it breathe and then they solo. Some people play a little short something at the beginning, and then on top of that, they really kind of move around and dance a lot and end up on a D because that's where it resolves. So I want to try both. So now you're going to listen. I'm using everything we talked about. The scales, the chord tones, the bends. Now I'm going to choose where I like my soloing. Now, of course, you can flip-flop this every time it comes around, but you just want to try it out. You know, break or crack those glow sticks and see what you like as a musician. So I'm going to try and play, not play on that riff and play on that riff. And I'm going to see what I like. And I'm going to do everything we talked about. So let's see if we can get this down. Okay, let's see if we can get this down. Empty for me. Yeah, I really want to move with that. Now I'm gonna move. I like the pocket. Okay, so I like the pocket of kind of like putting some movement in there. Now notice that I didn't do the riff. I really just messed around the pentatonic and I ended on the D when the D came around. So let's listen to that again. I'll throw a riff in one time and I'll throw in some soloing on top of that riff. Here we go. I'm supposed to do the riff now, strong time. Cool. So now we have another human element. Like, where do we want to place the weight of the solo? And to me, it's kind of like I like to kind of really kind of kick into gear on top of that riff. Rhythms. All right, let's talk about rhythms. Rhythm is part of the human element. In the blues, in soloing, we have plenty of rhythms to mess with. You have quarter notes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Quarter notes. You have dotted eighth notes. There's a swing there. We don't find like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Actually, no, it doesn't sound bad on top of this because this really isn't. See, you're watching the thought process. This really isn't a blues song where it has the swing, the bum, bum, ba, bum, 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 bum. It's very straight eighth notes, 1 E and or 16th, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. So here, our 16th notes and eighth notes are going to work 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. You're going to hear that stuff. 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1. Sparingly, triplets. Triplet, 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 chord notes, eighth notes, sparing 16th notes, triplets. All right, now on Patreon, we're going to practice all this, but I'm showing you, here's that human element. This lesson is to show you how it all works. We've got our formula, we've got our cupcake. It's solid, it's delicious, and now we're going to add that human element. So right now I'm going to like consciously play with all my different rhythms and see what I like as a guitar player. Let's see. Okay, so I messed up a little bit there, but I really like those 16th notes and the triplets and everything, so you want to practice that stuff. So now we have that human element, and again, you're probably like, spend more time on the rhythm. And we will. There's going to be so many future videos about it. But I just wanted to show you in this video. We started with the chord progression. We discovered that it has a 1, 4, and 5 in D. That kind of locked us into D right there. We understand, and we're going to understand in the future, that it's a rock blues song. So minor pentatonic. Minor pentatonic is always the rock blues answer. We throw it on top. And now the chord tones start to shine through. And you're seeing them. You're practicing your chord tones and movement. And now we have a scale and chord tones that work together with the song. And then we added some human elements of bending, rhythm, where we like to solo. And now you shouldn't, right here is the moment where you should not be guessing, like, what do I do? We have all the elements now. Now it's like, okay, I have the control board in front of me. Now I just sit and practice. And like I said, the only thing left to do, of course, is physically practice, but it's to discover the musician inside of you that likes to do certain things with this blueprint. That's it. That's how simple it is. So jamming on top of Going Down by Freddie King, when it comes your time to do it, and there will be a time, trust me, it's a huge jam song everyone loves to play, you can develop your own chops. Now, we just did it in the Form 1 pentatonic. On Patreon, we'll be expanding it, doing it down in the Form 4, adding more human elements, practicing our rhythms, and really shining on how this formula works in all of music. And I want to say this was a kind of zoomed out version of it, because the blues is pretty clean cut. you can just look at the formula or the cupcake and say, okay, I got ones, fours, and fives, I got the minor pentatonic, I got the chord tones, and I got the human swagger. So when you zoom out, that's pretty much blues and rock. I mean, right there. With other genres and other types of songs, you might have to zoom in and really, like, now that you, like, you know, instead of saying 1, 4, and 5, you look at the D chord and say, okay, what are the notes on the D chord? What are all the notes in the G chord? But here we're playing with power chords. And so that's pretty much it. I hope this makes sense. I hope it helps you believe in the master music formula, and that there's always going to be a solution to it, no matter what you're playing, and no matter what you're looking at, no matter what you're writing, no matter what you're soloing over, no matter what you're breaking down. You can always look at it like this. And again, all my future videos are going to be how you can really grow strong at developing your formula approach, all right, with no guesswork. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for being here. Talk soon. Bye-bye.